How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to take a little bit of a look at Inscription. Now, Inscription is going to be massive at the start of an expansion. It always is, for one very simple reason: Dark Moon trinkets. I cannot see for any reason why this expansion is going to be any different from the past, especially since we're going to have the ability to convert these Dark Moon trinkets up to mythic item level quality eventually. That aside though, whatever your reason is for leveling Inscription, let's get it done nice and quickly. I've taken a little bit of a time to test this a few times over actually on the beta so far, and I've tried to figure out exactly how many materials we need, and I've put together a little bit of a shopping list. You're going to probably need in the region of about 170 Hock and Bloom, 60 Bubble Poppy, 30 Saxifrage, and 60 Wraithbark. This is not too many herbs. As Inscription goes, you would sort of expect to be using more, but this is still slightly average prices, average numbers because of the way that milling works. We're going to require 25 Rousing Air and 125 Rousing Frost. We are very frost heavy as scribes. Inks use frost essences by the boatload. We also need 5 Awakened Frost right for the very end. We're going to need some vendor materials. We're going to need some Draconic Vials to put the inks in. We're going to need some Iridescent Water, as these are a component for making the inks as well. And we need 10 Glittering Parchments for making some missives later on in the guide. Now, all of this information and much more is going to be available in my gold making cheat sheet, my Dragonflight gold making cheat sheet. This has the written version, it has the little shopping list you may need, and a written version of the leveling path that we're going to take to get today to get leveling in, to get Inscription leveled. Plus, it's got the same for all of the other professions as well. So whatever you're playing around with profession-wise, this little cheat sheet will have more than enough information for you to really start raking in that gold. If you happen to be a YouTube member, a Patreon of mine, or even a Twitch subscriber, you'll find a link to the cheat sheet pinned over in Discord. Thank you very much for your continued support. So, the very first thing we're going to do with Inscription is start milling a bunch of herbs and crafting a bunch of inks. Now, this is a bit of a time-consuming process, so by the magic of editing, I'm going to skip a bunch of this, but to tell you in advance what we need, we actually need a handful of inks that are as such. We need 27 Flourishing inks, 22 Blazing inks, and 56 Serene inks. Get your milling and get your ink crafting done until you hit these numbers, and then we'll be good to continue off with the rest of the guide. But yes, magic of editing. 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty then, if by the power of editing we are now back to only moments later your time. For reference, in real time, all of that crafting probably only took 5 or 6 minutes, so it's not too lengthy of a process all the same. But what that's now left us with is a whole bunch of inks that we can continue our crafting with. As you can see, because of milling is a little bit of a rough science, we were left over with a few materials. We didn't quite need to use all of the materials I quoted at the beginning. The important thing is, though, is that we're left with at least 25 Wraithbark. We do actually need 25 Wraithbark for specifically crafting later on in the guide. You'll also notice this has got us to Inscription skill 20. If you, for whatever reason, have not quite reached skill 20, maybe just craft up a couple of chilled runes or something else. We need to be at skill 20 before we continue on, but you should have easily hit skill 20 by this point. So let's learn a few recipes. We can then throw a whole bunch more at it. Burnished inks is the next one on our list. We want to craft this 5 times. This is going to use a bunch of those inks that we've just crafted and a bunch of our iridescent water. We want to craft 5 burnished inks now because we're actually going to use them literally straight away. The very next thing we craft after is going to use them. This will also push us past 25 skill points. It's at 25 skill points you unlock the Specialization Trees. When you unlock the Specialization Trees, my recommendation for most is maybe have a little bit of a look at them, but don't play around with them too much just yet. I've said in a few videos that the Specialization Trees is... well, there's no undo button. This is the big thing for spec trees. You know, your talent trees, for example, you can reset your talents. There's no way to reset your specialization trees. So if you unlock a spec or you spend your knowledge points within that spec, be aware that you can't undo that. So you need to plan ahead a little bit with the spec trees, but whilst we're leveling, you don't need to worry about it too much at all. Let's learn up some more patterns then. From 30 to 35, we can start crafting some of these runes. Now, if you have a use for these, maybe craft some of each of them. If not, maybe look at crafting ones that can sell for a good rate on the auction house. It's entirely up to you. They all use just a single chilled rune, so you don't need to worry too much about which ones you do craft. We're going to craft 5 of these, but before we get to that point, we're actually going to have to craft up 5 of these chilled runes instead. Let's craft these up to begin with. This is where we're going to start using a lot of the rousing essences. This is why rousing frost is such highly utilized in Inscription. It's because lots and lots and lots of chilled runes will need to be crafted in the leveling process. And then once you're crafting high tier inks at a later date, you'll burn through a bunch of these as well. Let's make a few of these. So we've got 5. You could technically, I should probably tell you at this point, if you wanted to, you could craft all 25 of these now. We're going to need all 25, but it's up to you if you craft them as and when you need them, or craft them all in bulk ahead of time. To keep the pace of the video smooth, I will just craft a handful of them now. Once we've got those, we can make our 5 runes. This will get us guaranteed skill points all the way up to skill 35. Let's just hit create all on that. Regarding the quality of the materials, at this point we don't need to worry too much about using top quality materials. We're actually best off using as lower quality materials as we can, for the reason that they'll probably be cheaper. We're trying to keep our costs down as much as possible whilst leveling. Once we've got ourselves leveled up, and once we can start creating some things at higher quality, and once we can start pushing the quality into the quality 2, quality 3, or even quality 4 and quality 5 if it's a gear item, that's when using better quality materials is going to be valuable to us. But for right now, we can just sit back and relax. It's fine. Next on our list though is Cosmic Inks. We're going to need to craft this 5 times. The only material we're going to be missing at this point is going to be the Runed Writhe Bark, so this gives me an opportunity to introduce you to this as well. Runed Writhe Bark is a next step above a chilled rune. You can see that it uses chilled runes as well. It's also going to start using the Rousing Air, and then the Cosmic Inks themselves are using the Awakened Frost. So there's lots of elementals that's going to go into making these. We're going to burn through Rousing Frost at a remarkable rate. You can farm for Rousing Frost though. This is one of the advantages. In the next couple of days or weeks, you should expect to see lots of farming videos telling people exactly how to get lots of this stuff. You can get it by just mob killing. You can grind mobs to get Rousing Frost. Or I believe it's both herbalists and miners can have access to this whilst they're out there gathering as well. Right, a few more chilled runes crafted. Let's make these 5 Runed Writhe Bark real quick. That will give us the ability to make our Cosmic Inks. Now, Cosmic Inks is a component. It's the top tier ink. It's an ink that's going to go into a lot of the end game crafts. So your choice here is either going to be, when you craft them, maybe save some of them if you're going to push your Inscription right to the max, or maybe get these up on the auction house nice and quick, as they will be quite sought after commodity items. Being commodity items, they are on the region-wide auction house though, so be aware of that, you know, speed of sales is going to be ridiculous, but so is competition on the region-wide auction house. With 5 of those crafted, that should push us to skill 45, and as you can see, we're very quickly running out of recipes. It's at skill 45 we learn the Missives. Missives function very similar to how they do in Shadowlands, in terms of the fact that they allow you to customize the secondary stats on pieces of gear. My suggestion for this is start off by crafting 1 of each, so that you get your first time craft bonuses. We will actually need a handful more chilled runes to be able to do this. Let's get those on the go. You want to craft 1 of each of the missives to get your first time craft bonus, which will give you some knowledge points to spend in your spec tree. It will also give you some artisan's metal for you to put towards crafting at a later date. Once you've crafted 1 of each, for the purpose of this guide, if you want to follow along using the exact material list I gave you, you'll then need to craft 4 additional draconic missives of the Aurora to use the right inks. We've got 4 of these to be made still. Let's quickly make these. We might as well get these finished now whilst we can. 2 more. 1 more. And the last one's good. Right, so let's craft 1 of each to begin with. Each different version of this uses a slightly different ink in some scenarios, which is why if you're looking to use the exact materials I suggested at the beginning, 1 of each and then 4 additional auroras. These are still guaranteeing as skill points and will do all the way, I believe, to 55, which is where we're going to then start looking at crafting our Manthieus runes to push us that little bit further. Last 4 draconic missives of the Aurora. The fact that we get to learn the Manthieus rune for the first raid of the expansion, not by actually raiding, but just through a trainer, is quite an interesting choice. In past expansions, we've always needed to at least enter the raid and kill a boss or 2 and hope to get the pattern to drop. This time round, it's just a trainer recipe, which is quite nice. And so from 55 points on, we can see we're missing some burnished inks to get this completed, but the remainder of our inks should make those 10 burnished inks that we need. We're actually going to craft 5 Manthieus runes at this point. That should give us skill points all the way up to 60. So let's craft these burnished inks. If my maths is correct, we should just about have enough materials. Once we've hit skill 60 though, that's going to be the end of the path for us for right now. It's not possible to level to max in one go in Dragonflight, and this is kind of by design. They want it so that when you get at least halfway through, you'll have the ability to learn any recipe you come across for that profession. But you'll have to go out and get those recipes. That's going to be the main thing. There's a few different ways you can get recipes from this point on. Focusing on your specialization trees, spending some of these points you've been gathering up in your spec trees might unlock some recipes for you. Head out into the open world, increase your reputation, increase your standing with one of the major factions in Dragonflight, and eventually they may start selling you some extra patterns. Or there's even the possibility that you might find a few patterns dotted on the auction house from time to time, but obviously be aware at the start of the expansion they're likely to be quite expensive. But that's where we're going to have to leave it for Inscription right now. We are going to have to go out and do some work to get any additional patterns to level this up even further. This is where, take a look at your spec tree. You're going to have a handful of points to spend by this point, and you can maybe take a little bit of a look at some other guides out there. Inscription's got a lot to offer at the start of the expansion. I mentioned Dark Moon cards, but they're also responsible for making 2-handed staffs or staves. So they're going to be quite highly in demand, I suspect, as well. But there we go, boys and girls. That's Inscription leveled up, hopefully as simplistically as possible. If you follow the guide, you should get to this point without too many issues, and if you're really lucky, you might even have a few spare materials because of how milling works from the beginning. But if you enjoyed the video, boys and girls, give the video a like, consider subscribing if you're new around here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.